friends, a very happy Sunday. My name is Adam Holmes. I'm a songwriter from Edinburgh in Scotland, and every week on a Sunday I take some time to do what I call the Sunday catch-up. I've changed the schedule slightly, and what is now is I'm going to answer questions from the club. So anyone who's in the club can ask questions. I'm going to coach on any of those questions which people ask about. So I've got a list of questions that I'm looking forward to diving into, and let me know where you all are watching from. It'd be great to hear that in the comments. I believe that a truly great life is lived from a space of emotional regulation. And we all know there is a tremendous amount of negativity going on in the world right now. It's creating all sorts of problems for people. And my belief is there's a few foundational aspects to creating tranquility within oneself. The first aspect is emotional regulation, knowing how to regulate your emotions. I have been in therapy for 15 years, and most of the skills that I have in terms of being able to regulate my nervous system came from therapy. That said, a lot of them also came from the philosophies and principles of Stoicism and reading and different kinds of philosophies. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to offer you some techniques, I'm going to offer you some principles, and I'm going to offer you some guidance. And hopefully you can use the tips and techniques that I'm going to give you today to live a better life for the week ahead. Who am I to be your guide? Well, over the last 15 years, I've created 9 of my own albums. I have won awards for my albums. My songs have featured in Hallmark movies, on the BBC, and shows like Outlander. And I've created an online health club. There's 900 of us in there, and we stream inside of the club creative, inspirational, positive material that you can use to improve your life. I also put entertainment content in there. All questions today are coming from the club, so let's get into it. The first question today is from Felicity. No, sorry. The first question is from, Lulu, who asks, how do you keep motivated when you hear people say you can't accomplish your goals? It's disheartening. I think Lulu, you have to have a tremendously strong sense of what it is that you want to do and why it is that you want to do it. So, for example, in my life, I know that I want to be an example of what's possible to the world. I came from a background of having no money. I came from a background of trauma and abuse. I experienced abuse as a kid. I experienced a lot of violence growing up. And what I want my life to be is an offering to the world whereby I can say that if you're dedicated and if you believe it's possible, you can do anything. And I was thinking of a really cool example today, which is when I first set out to build 10,000 followers, I now have 700,000, which is amazing. It's way surpassed my initial goal, but when I was getting started, 10,000 followers just seemed like a crazy goal. I couldn't believe it. And I sat down with my friend to discuss this goal, and he said to me, it's not possible, not without a record label. You're not going to be able to do it. And I've actually got that voice note, and I thought it could be quite funny to put that into the club. So all you guys in the club, I'm going to chuck that into the WhatsApp after this call, and you can listen to me talking to him, because we had a conversation and I said to him, I'm going to choose to believe that it's possible. So the second question Lulu's asking today is, how do you know if your goals or dreams are realistic? Well, you know that your goal's realistic when you build evidence, but the truth is you can build evidence for whatever you want. Every single day is an opportunity to build evidence for good or build evidence for bad. You could wake up and say to yourself, I'm not good with money, and then use your money very unwisely and create evidence for that reality. Or you could wake up and say, I'm excellent with money. I know exactly how to spend and save and invest, and I know how to create money in order to have an amazing life. And ultimately, you'll prove that reality true. You could say, there's no way I could build 10,000 followers. Or you could say, I know in my heart that I'm going to get there somehow. I don't know exactly how. That's one point I want to get onto, is you don't need to know the how. You actually just need to have a goal, fixate on the goal, and know that you're going to achieve it, and act as if you already have it, and you'll get there. I used to come to this space years ago, and I used to sit here and think about what it'd be like to have 1,000 people inside of my club. And I used to have a club years ago called Treehouse that failed. It didn't really work. I only ended up having about 15 people in it. Now I have 900 people in my club. And so my past vision became a reality. When I wanted to be a songwriter, that became a reality. So I'm good at making things a reality, but in order to make something a reality, act as if it already is, but take the action. I see so much advice come from people on the law of manifestation or whatever without any action, and too many of you guys are just not taking enough action. So question from Lulu, how do you know if your goals or dreams are realistic? It directly relates to how much action you take. So what I like to ask is, if someone was following you around with a camera and filmed your whole week, would it look like you were taking the action that was appropriate for the goal that you want to have? So if your goal is, I want to lose 10 pounds, but you're going to Burger King every day, then that's not realistic. Whereas if you go, I want to lose 100 pounds and you're eating salad, it's more realistic. So align your actions in the day, let the days compound, let the time pass, and you'd be amazed at what you can achieve. I was 17 stone. I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any albums. I didn't have a good friendship circle. I didn't exercise regularly. I used to be a drug addict. So my new reality is something that I'm still getting used to, of being a healthy person who's regulated, who has savings, who has good discipline around health and money and respect and good interpersonal relationships. So my point is, Lulu, your reality is going to be dictated by your actions. Focus on your actions today. That's how you're going to know if your goals or dreams are realistic. Lulu also asked today, may I ask what time the Sunday session is? And of course, you can absolutely ask. All I'll say is I never give times. I'm not going to give times for things. I don't want to work on a schedule of, I say I'm going to go live at 2. I just want to live my best life and come on when I feel like it. That's why it's important to be in the club, because when you're in the club, I'm going to send out a message saying, right guys, I'm going to go live. So if you are in the club, you're going to get those notifications. So it's definitely worth being in the club. Maggie is asking, by the way, all these questions come from the club. If you're not already in the club and you want to come and join us, comment club, you'll get a link to come and join us. If you ever got any value out of anything that I ever did and you can afford $2 a month, come and join my club. That's where my best content is. Thank you. Maggie asks, just wondered if you ever thought of banding together with other independent artists to fight the damage AI has caused and continues to have major impact to your industry. It's a good question, Maggie. I'm always collaborating with other human beings, and I love collaboration. I'm also a fiercely independent person. And so, yes and no. I'm very committed to understanding things well myself. I feel like often people delegate things before they understand them. So, for instance, right now I'm learning how to live stream to multiple platforms at one time, where many people might think I need to hire people. I want to understand things. I want to understand how to do things. Right now, for example, I'm learning how to do Facebook ads. It's a grind, and my brain totally doesn't totally understand it yet, but I'm committed to learning things, learning how to do things. I can do graphic design. I can do social media. I've learned that skill. I can write songs. I can record my own music. And so my point is, too many people go to collaboration before they understand the basic principles themselves. And I see this often as a way that people avoid doing the work and avoid just getting started. So my recommendation, in case, Maggie, your question was to do with your own journey, would just be to get started. And the sooner you get started, the better. Guys, I'm going to pour my tea now. I've got a nice decaf tea. I like to have a little bit of cream in my tea on a Sunday for a little bit of a treat. Hope you guys are having a good Sunday too, and hopefully you're having a nice cup of tea or something like that as well. Mary asks from the club, by the way guys, all questions come from the club. If you want to join the club, comment club. Mary asks, how do you think your music has evolved over the years? Well, I think I've become more clear in many ways, but also not that much. I mean, I used to stand in the river and sing Robert Burns when I was just a wee boy, and so in many ways it's never changed. It's just been about creative expression. It's just been about developing and becoming better and getting better and not even necessarily getting better, just doing it. I just love making stuff. And this is a thing that I see so many people get stuck on, is like, I have to be the best, I have to be an expert, I have to be perfect. Like, there's loads of stuff that I don't know. I don't know how to read music, I don't know how to do a lot of things, but I know that I love making stuff, Mary. So my attitude, my perspective is always just make stuff. I just made an album, I'm already thinking I want to make another one. I think lots of people could do a lot more work than they do. There's a lot of people who I think are national treasures who just don't put out enough work, in my opinion. So I'm a big believer in getting work out, and I think that's evolved over the years. I think I have become much more comfortable producing results at a very, very high level and very quickly. I mean, in the last 4 years, I have written a book, I've made 4 albums, I built a club with 900 members, I built 700,000 followers on social media, I've learned Facebook ads, all while being a dad. I've built websites, I've learned graphic design. So I think how I've developed, how I've evolved has more been to do with how I create results in the world rather than the music, because music's just the same as, like, it's almost like saying, how has your eating evolved? Well, you always have to eat, and it just is there. It's just a thing that's part of life. So that would be my answer there, Mary. Thanks for the question. Cheryl asks, which book has had the most influence on you and why? Cheers, everyone. The book which has had the biggest influence on me undoubtedly is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I was speaking to someone about this book a couple of days ago in light of all of the awful things that have been happening in the world, and I've been thinking about how difficult it is to put yourself out there and have an opinion, and we've seen many examples of this recently, that people who put themselves out there, put themselves in the arena, put themselves in harm's way, sometimes get harmed. It happens, and it's sad, and it's a difficult thing about humanity, that we have this violent streak. And the reason I'm talking about this is because Marcus Aurelius, when you think about it, was a Roman emperor. So he was prey to the most influence, the most power, the most temptation, the most sway, the most Machiavellian tactics from all sides at all times. And yet he managed to kind of produce this philosophy of Stoicism, all based around the idea that you don't control what happens in life, you control how you respond to it. And so I had this copy of Meditations, and I really studied it. And I'm a big believer in read one book 1,000 times rather than 1,000 books once. So for me, Cheryl, the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius changed my life. And here's why. When I first found the book, I was really struggling. I was struggling with a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. I'd just become a dad. I didn't really have a business built. I'd been a songwriter and touring all over the world. And then my daughter was born. I didn't really feel like I had the emotional or financial resources to provide for her properly. And then I found this book. And what was so useful about it was this concept, this simple concept that you can take away and use right now. And it sounds almost benign in its simplicity, but there are things you're not in control of. And when you start to turn your attention to the things you are in control of, there's just work to do. There's just so much work to do. When you stop trying to control what your family think, when you stop trying to control what the world thinks, when you stop trying to appear as perfect, you can put all of your creative energy into making stuff. And so it really, really changed my life, the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and I would definitely recommend it. Guys, if you ever got any value out of this talk today, out of any of my clips, out of any of my music, I would really appreciate it if you came and joined my club. It's only $2 to join. You get all my best content inside of there. Lucy asks, and by the way, all questions come from the club, so if you're in the club, you're able to ask me questions and have them answered, and there's also loads of other cool content inside of the club. Big shout out to everyone who's in the club. Lucy asks, my Sunday question, what do you feel is the one most important thing you did to get your music to go viral on TikTok or Instagram? E.g., was it the quantity of posts consistently every day, sharing your why, hashtags, hook, story, offer, or a multi-pronged, all of the above approach? Asked Lucy. I love your question, Lucy. Thanks for asking, and cheers. So, there's only ever a block with social media if you think anything that you post matters, right? There's a brilliant saying I heard about marketing and branding, and it said, you are the sum of every single impression that you make. So I love this kind of perspective because it helps you to understand you don't need to appear as perfect in any clip. One clip you could be tired, one clip you can be stressed, one clip you can be calm, one clip you can be saying something controversial, one clip you can be apologizing, one clip you can be figuring something else out, one clip you can be using all hashtags, one clip you can be using no hashtags, one clip you can be using music, one clip you can be talking. You post everything and you let the world's impression take care of itself. I know that if I consistently show up online and be myself and provide value and be a good person and help people out, that good energy that I put out into the world comes back to me, and I don't need to know what the reason is. I don't need to know a strategy. I don't need to have a plan. I just post loads. So Lucy, my advice to you would be, however much you think is a lot, just post way, way, way more than that, and you're never going to post too much. You're not. Just, if you looked at like busking, going on social media is a little bit like busking. So if you just consistently show up, then you're going to create amazing results. And look at it as a 5-year plan. It took me 2 years to really feel like I knew a little bit what I was doing on social media. I'm a couple of years in now and I feel a wee bit like I know what I'm doing, but I'm still just learning all the time. Thanks for the question, Lucy. Rachel asks, Julian, her son, would like to know, what are you going to do today, Sunday in the life of Adam Holmes? Well, Julian, I woke up today and I meditated, and then I went to the gym and I worked out, and then I worked on my business, and then I ate an omelette. No carbs, just protein and fat. And then I went and got a haircut, because even though I said I wasn't going to cut my hair or my beard until I hit 5,000 club members, I realized that maybe the guy who hits 5,000 club members doesn't look like a homeless guy. So it's a nice way to look after oneself. Today has been all about self-care, all about looking after myself, get a haircut, get to the gym, eat good food, get on here and speak to you lovely guys. So that's been my Sunday. Thanks for asking. Susie asks, final question, any tips for turning a story into a song lyric? Absolutely, Susie. All I would say is you don't need to do anything. You know, good songwriting is about doing nothing. You know, Robert De Niro was asked, what's your top piece of acting advice? And he said, don't do anything. You know, many people, if they're acting, they think someone dies and they think, oh my God, this is all, oh. And he said, no, just if someone told you this person had died, you wouldn't do anything. You would just sit, you would take it in, and you'd receive it, and you'd let the audience read into it. So the best songs often happen when you simply say whatever the first impulse is and then allow it to be interpreted by the audience. And audiences are intelligent. They're people just like you. So you can't lie. You cannot lie. You can't trick an audience. So the best thing you could do if you want to turn a story into a song lyric is just say what happened. Because here's the thing, Susie, the way that you hear the story is actually your voice as an artist. Two people could be in the same situation and tell a different story about exactly what happened. So already the way that you are telling the story is your song lyric, what you're choosing. Maybe you're choosing particular elements of what you saw, heard, felt, sensed. That's going to be your song lyric. And what I'd recommend, Susie, is inside of the club, I have a 6-part course on songwriting where I talk about all this stuff way more in depth. So definitely go and check that out. And everyone else who is on here, I hope you guys have a beautiful Sunday. I want to invite you to come and join my club. If you ever got any value out of anything that I did, if you ever listened to my records, if you ever got any value out of any of these talks, if you ever got any value out of any of the pieces of content I create, I'd really, really appreciate if you came and joined my club. It's a Patreon. There's 900 of us in there. We're building it all the time. If you want to come and join us, comment club. And I hope you guys have a really lovely Sunday. I will